Deserts are some of the most mysterious and eerie places on Earth. They're harsh, dry, and usually devoid of life. Yet for centuries, people have been living in and exploring these vast, barren landscapes. And over time, we've discovered some truly bizarre things hiding in the sand. From sinkholes that seem to devour everything in their path to rocks that defy the laws of physics by staying perfectly balanced, the desert is full of surprises. So, join us as we take a journey through 15 of the strangest phenomena found in the deserts. And trust us, you won't believe your eyes. Let's start with number 15, singing dunes. When you think of deserts, what comes to mind? Most likely it's the image of dunes, stretching out endlessly under a scorching sun. But what exactly are dunes, and how do they form? Well, it all starts with dry, loose sand. If the sand is too moist, the grains stick together, so only very dry climates create the perfect conditions. Wind plays a key role, moving the sand and shaping the dunes. And of course, obstacles like rocks or sparse plants help the sand settle and form those signature ridges. But did you know that some dunes sing? Well, it sounds crazy, but it's true. Climbing up or sliding down a dune under the right conditions can cause an avalanche that triggers a 100 decibel singing sound caused by a feedback loop of collisions. The face of a dune acts as a loudspeaker of sorts, amplifying the vibrations of the shifting and colliding sand. Researchers say you can feel the song in your whole body if the conditions are just right. Number 14, dust devils. Dust devils may sound like something out of a horror movie, but in reality, they're just short-lived whirlwinds that happen in hot, dry environments like deserts. These funnel-shaped phenomena are created when a pocket of hot air near the surface rises quickly through cooler air above it. The rapid updraft causes the air to start spinning, and as it spins faster, it picks up dust, creating a swirling column that looks like a mini tornado. They can vary in size, from a small puff of dust to towering columns over a kilometer high. While they can be impressive to watch, dust devils are mostly harmless, though they can occasionally knock over small objects or make a dusty mess. To form a dust devil, 3 things need to happen: hot surface air, cooler upper air, and a bit of wind to get the spinning effect going. So, while they might look dramatic, dust devils are just nature showing off. Number 13, desertification. Desertification is the slow-motion disaster that makes deserts grow, sometimes faster than we'd like. It happens when land turns into desert due to factors like drought, soil erosion, and human activity. In simple terms, it's the process of land losing its ability to support plant life, leaving it dry and barren. When plants die off, the soil becomes loose and more vulnerable to erosion. Over the past century, desertification has been speeding up, and it's not just nature at work. Human expansion into arid and semi-arid regions, through farming, grazing, and mining, has made things worse. Climate change is also a big factor, with rising temperatures and unpredictable rainfall patterns. The problem is growing, and over 2 billion people now live in areas at risk of desertification. While efforts like better water management and planting trees are helping, solving the problem will require a lot of global cooperation and resources. Number 12, the Atacama sinkhole. Deserts are usually seen as stable, serene places where the only drama involves a cactus getting too hot. But in August 2022, the Atacama Desert decided to throw a curveball. Out of nowhere, a sinkhole, 36 meters wide and 200 meters deep, appeared. Just like that. It's big enough to swallow the Arc de Triomphe in Paris without breaking a sweat. This gigantic hole showed up at the El Abra copper mine, and while no one or anything got swallowed, yet, the mystery surrounding its cause is still unanswered. Could mining activities be to blame? After all, the nearby mine pumps out water waste, and where there's water, there's trouble. The worry? That this sinkhole might just be the beginning of a sinkhole apocalypse. While officials squabble over who's responsible, the mine's international owners, who are Canadian and Japanese, might make things a little tricky when it comes to handing out blame. Now let's move to number 11. Dust storms. Dust storms are one of the desert's classic party tricks. Strong winds pick up loose sand and create massive clouds that can stretch up to 1.6 kilometers high. These storms can pop up anywhere in the world, but there are a few unique ones that stand out. For instance, the Haboob, a sandstorm that sweeps across the Sahara, looks like a giant wave of dust rolling toward you. It's like Mother Nature's version of a tsunami, but with sand instead of water. Then there's the Samum, found in the Arabian Peninsula. This hot, dry, dust-laden wind can reach temperatures over 54 degrees C, that's nearly boiling, and it's so intense it's been dubbed the poison wind. These storms are not just a nuisance, they can cause heat stroke and other health risks. But the most famous dust storm? That happened in the US during the Great Depression, when 272,000 tons of topsoil were blown away in the Dust Bowl, causing mass migration westward. Number 10. A mirage. Stuck in the desert? Thirsty? Your eyes may betray you. Big time. Meet the mirage, nature's cruel joke. Picture this. You're trudging along, dying for a drink, and in the distance you spot what looks like a shimmering oasis. Water. Your heart races. But wait, there's no water. It's all an illusion. The magic trick happens because hot air near the ground bends light, creating the illusion of a pool of water where none exists. This mirage effect also pops up on highways, making drivers think they're about to hit a water source. Spoiler alert, they're not. And it's not just a desert phenomenon. Mirages have a knack for showing up in polar regions and even over the sea, sometimes projecting ships or coastlines. So next time you think you see a pond, think twice before running toward it. You might end up just as parched, but with an extra mile added to your journey. Number 9. Desert locusts. Deserts might be dry and barren, but they sure know how to throw a party when locusts are involved. These little guys can turn a quiet stretch of sand into a living nightmare. They're not your average grasshoppers. No, locusts are the rock stars of the insect world, capable of forming massive swarms that can eat an entire crop in one sitting. And they don't stop there. They can travel hundreds of miles, devouring everything in their path, making even the driest desert seem like a 5-star buffet. Why? Because locusts are always hungry, and when they team up, they're a force to be reckoned with. It's like nature's own version of a zombie apocalypse, except instead of brains, they're after your crops. So if you're in a desert and hear a buzz, get ready, because those little wings might just bring a swarm of trouble. Number 8. Oasis. You'd think surviving in the desert would be a never-ending struggle, but then along comes the oasis, nature's version of a cheat code. Picture this. You're in the scorching Sahara, your throat's drier than a cracker, and then, bam, a lush patch of greenery, all thanks to some underground water showing up like the world's best-kept secret. Oases are like nature's spa day in the desert, turning a dry, barren land into a paradise where humans and crops can survive. The Sahara, for instance, is home to over 90 major oases. These oases are vital for nomadic tribes who've been hopping from one to another for centuries. The real MVPs here are date palms, which create a shady barrier to protect crops like apricots, figs, and olives from the harsh desert winds. And while you won't find any mermaids today, the Hakina Oasis in Peru still has its fair share of myths, tourists, and a population that's very much alive and thriving. So next time you're thirsty in the desert, maybe an oasis is just around the corner. Number 7. Sand dunes. When you think of sand dunes, you probably picture massive, unmoving mountains of sand, right? Well, forget that image. These dunes are like the desert's version of a wild dance party, constantly shifting and changing and always full of surprises. The sand is made up of tiny grains, usually quartz, that come from eroded rocks. The wind picks them up, and voila, you've got sand dunes being born. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Sand dunes don't just sit there looking pretty. They move. Some even swim through the air, but they usually shift by bouncing along the ground, stacking up into huge hills. And those dunes? They're not just sand. They're home to desert plants, lizards, and beetles. Some plants have roots so strong they hold on to the dunes like they're giving them a bear hug. And don't forget the lizards, who are basically the sand dune version of beachgoers, digging tunnels and calling it home. So, next time you're out in the desert, remember, those lifeless dead dunes, they're alive and kicking. Number 6. Sailing stones. In Death Valley, California, you might catch a glimpse of rocks sliding across the desert floor on their own, like something out of a sci-fi movie. These rocks, called sailing stones, move at speeds of up to 5 meters per minute. Sounds crazy, right? But it's just nature being a bit sneaky. When winter rolls in, a combination of ice, water, and wind creates the perfect conditions to send these stones drifting across the dried-up lake bed. The ice forms under the right conditions and melts, giving the rocks just enough of a push to slide along. It's like the desert decided to get a little creative. If you ever see these rocks in motion, don't worry. You're not imagining things. The whole process is just a freaky, awesome trick of nature happening right in front of you. Number 5. The desert glow. The Arizona desert at night is far from ordinary. It becomes a glowing spectacle. Some mushrooms native to the area light up in the dark, creating an almost otherworldly ambiance. But the fun doesn't stop there. If you shine a UV light on local bark scorpions, they'll glow bright blue. It's like the desert decided to throw a neon party for its nocturnal creatures. This fluorescence comes from chemicals in the scorpion's exoskeletons, giving them that eerie, glowing hue. These glowing critters and fungi create an experience that's unlike anything else, offering an almost magical view of the desert after dark. For those looking for a truly unique desert experience, Arizona's glowing mushrooms and fluorescent scorpions are proof that the desert can be just as dazzling at night as it is in the daylight. Number 4. Flash floods. It might sound strange to think of desert flooding, but flash floods are a real danger in these dry, arid regions. The soil in deserts is typically so hard and dry that it can't absorb rainfall quickly. So, when rain does fall, it runs off, creating a sudden surge of water that can turn dry riverbeds into raging torrents in no time. These floods are often more intense because desert landscapes can include steep gullies or arroyos, which funnel the water into concentrated channels, increasing its force. It's a reminder that even in the driest places, water can be a powerful, unpredictable force. Flash floods in deserts are often caused by brief but heavy rainstorms, and they can happen without warning. So, if you're caught in the desert when it rains, be prepared for nature's wild side. Number 3. The Sahara and hurricanes. Believe it or not, the Sahara Desert plays a role in creating hurricanes, just not in the way you might expect. While the Sahara is hot and dry, its contrasting weather with the cooler, wetter air of West Africa helps create powerful winds. These winds, called the African Easterly Jet, stir up thunderstorms in the region. And when these storms start to roll across the Atlantic, they can sometimes form into tropical cyclones, which can eventually develop into hurricanes. It's a strange connection between the Sahara and the Caribbean, but the interaction between these two climates has a significant impact on hurricane activity in the North Atlantic. So while the Sahara might seem like a desolate expanse of sand, it actually has an indirect role in shaping the weather that affects millions of people far beyond its borders. Number 2. Precariously balanced rocks. Deserts are known for their extreme conditions, but even in the harshest landscapes, there are some mind-boggling oddities, like precariously balanced rocks. These large stones seem to defy the laws of physics, balancing on smaller rocks in ways that make you wonder if gravity had the day off. While some of these wonders are crafted by artists, many are purely nature's doing, shaped over centuries by wind and water. Take Colorado's Balanced Rock, for example, a 600-ton sandstone boulder sitting at a perfect tilt like it's teetering on the edge of disaster. And in Utah's Goblin Valley, you'll find thousands of these rock formations, some mushroom-shaped and others, well, just plain weird. They've survived through the ages, untouched by earthquakes or erosion, until, of course, a curious human decides to give them a little push. Sadly, this often leads to their untimely demise. The strangest thing? These balancing rocks became famous on Zimbabwe's hyperinflationary bills during the 2000s, proof that sometimes nature and politics collide in the most unexpected ways. Number 1. The Eye of the Sahara. The Eye of the Sahara is one of the most striking and mysterious features of the desert. Located in the Western Sahara in Mauritania, it's a 40-kilometer-wide circular structure that looks like it could have been designed by aliens, or maybe some ancient civilization. Local nomads have known about it for centuries, but it wasn't until the 1960s that astronauts spotted it from space. Originally thought to be the result of a meteor impact, further studies show that it was created by natural erosion. The eye is a fascinating remnant of Earth's history, its concentric rings giving it an almost otherworldly appearance. Over the years, it's become a symbol of the mysteries that lie hidden in the desert. Whether you view it as a mark left by cosmic forces or simply a bizarre product of natural erosion, the Eye of the Sahara never fails to captivate those who encounter it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.